going on, guys? Welcome back to this week's episode of Outside the Arena with Rob and Griff. I'm Griffin Senyek, joined by my co-host, Rob Goldberger. And before today's video starts, I do just want to preface by saying make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. These recent videos have been doing amazing. We're so happy that we're getting all these new people to the channel. So if you are new here, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. There's going to be a giveaway at 100 subscribers. We don't know quite what it will be yet. But also if you comment on this video, maybe if we get, 10 comments, we'll do a little something. So we'll see. But just like, comment, and subscribe. Weekly episodes, lots of interviews. But with that, we're going to get started today. And we're going to talk about, obviously, the most relevant sporting event going on right now. And that's the NBA Finals. Tonight, we're approaching Game 5 tonight. So maybe we'll put out a little separate thing talking about that. But series is tied 2-2. It's going back to Golden State tonight. Very interesting. Obviously, Steph Curry in Game 4 really came alive. He put up an impressive 43 points. Andrew Wiggins, 16 rebounds in that one. That was cool too. But, Game 3 was Celtics really had him from the start. And Golden State couldn't quite, cut the lead enough. They had a good third quarter, but series is tied 2-2. Very interesting. I mean, it's been a fun series, to be honest. I mean,
I think
it's been great. What are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been great because I think these two teams are pretty evenly matched. I mean,
yeah,
I have to say that I just start out by starting out with some negativity, unfortunately, and that's just that I've just been disappointed by Jason Tatum's play in this series. I just don't think he's been good enough. Like, he hasn't been that 1A guy. He just hasn't been. And 2 games ago, when the last episode was recorded, that he hasn't been good enough. He just hasn't been. And I don't know. I think if he had stepped up, like Game 4 was theirs. That I find it honestly impressive that they're tied with him playing this poorly, as their best player playing this poorly. And on Golden State, it's the opposite end. Steph is just dragging this team right now. I mean, that was the best individual carry fest I've seen since 2018 LeBron, since those East playoffs, and a lot of people have made that comparison already. But I just think, this war, Steph and Clay, or Draymond and Clay have got to step up, both of them. And I'm afraid that they both might be nearing that wash territory. Draymond is obviously still an unbelievable defensive player, but he's just offering you nothing on the offensive end. And, people are making a lot of his podcast. I don't really think that it really has anything to do with his play. But Draymond and Clay have just been poor. And Clay hit that big 3 towards the end of Game 4. He did, but he was bad most of that game. And he was horrible the first 3 games of this series. And I don't know, man. I just think it really is, though, going to be tough for Boston to go back to Golden State with all the momentum and take out another victory there. I mean, I think Game 4 was just such an opportunity for them. And Steph, to me, that might be the most impressive game of his career. That might be the game that, if they end up winning this series, that has him a place solidify maybe towards that upper echelon of greats, the greatest to ever play this game, rather than sort of, bordering on top 10, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, Steph Curry I think this is really he's been able this series to show the greatness of who he is. I think is a good way to put it, because obviously 2015 they win the title. He doesn't win Finals MVP, but he had a great series. 2016, obviously the infamous implosion, 3-1, and then you have the Kevin Durant years, which it seems like Steph Curry, he didn't really get the credit he deserves for how good he was. And then they made the finals. Obviously in the Toronto series they lose. And now they're back, and Steph Curry, I mean, this guy is just on another level right now. He's by far the best player in the series. It's not even close. And I think it just shows the true gap in just performance from like the top 5-6 guys in the league to from 6. If you jump from 6 to 10, it's just such a big difference. Like Jason Tatum, we talked about a few weeks ago, is arguably in that top 10 range. And I'd argue Steph Curry. I mean, it's so tough to rank these top guys, but Steph Curry, the way he's playing right now, is a top 5 player in the NBA. And he's just so much more right now valuable than Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum is playing not good. I mean, you put it well. I mean, obviously, if you look at the box score, It's a little deceiving. He's kind of put together some nice performances statistically, but he's just not doing enough. He's not shooting the ball well. He's shot about, 33, 30, 35% in these last few games. It's not good enough. And, they need him to step it up. Marcus Smart has played pretty well these last few games. He's been, kind of carrying some of the slack. Jaylen Brown has been Jaylen Brown. He's been a good player. Jaylen Brown really doesn't vary too much, but Jason Tatum, that's the one thing we've seen in these playoffs. He's just such
I think
variations
it's
in his
very,
performance.
very Paul George like in a
Yeah.
way, where his highs are like, this dude is an MVP player, and his lows are just like just disappear. Because he'll just disappear off the court is the thing.
Yeah.
Like he'll just become a total non-factor, Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's like I don't know. It's just very rare to see a player. I feel like he's just never in between. Like he's either this game-changing player or he's really harming you. And I think, he just I think that's something you got to figure out, because I think when you're not at your best, you got to find a way to still fight back and still be at least mediocre and give your team, because he's been shooting them out of games at times. I mean, his shooting in the series has been met, and I do think Marcus Smart has been good, but I think the ball has been in Marcus Smart's hands far too often at the end of games.
Yeah.
I think he's been taking. I saw it in Game 7 in Miami where they almost choked that lead away. I saw it, Friday night. Just he hasn't been good. He hasn't been. Yeah. I mean, I just think the Warrior and Andrew Wiggins has been the second best player on the Warriors in this series, which is pretty crazy to say. I mean, he's had a hell of a redemption in Golden State. And I'm just not sure, Boston is real. But tonight is, I hate stating the obvious, but tonight is the big one, man. If Boston can pull this off, that I think you're going to have a monster Jason Tatum performance. It has to come in one game. And he has to play well tonight for them to give them a chance to win.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think the other thing is, this is a great opportunity for the Celtics, man. This is a great opportunity for the Celtics. I understand Jason Tatum is 24. I understand Jaylen Brown is 24, but he might be even younger than that. Jaylen Brown is he? Maybe
I
even
think
a
he's
little.
24.
I think they're both 24. I think they're both 24.
I'll look it up.
But they're both in
Jaylen
their
Brown's 25.
early mid 20s.
Jaylen Brown's 25.
Gotcha. So they're both in their early to mid 20s. But look, the Bucks are going to be healthy presumably next year. I think the Nets are going to be way better than they were. I think that, it's just going to be tough for Boston, man. And I think this is just a great they're going to be looking back at Friday's night's game for a long time, I think. And that Steph Curry performance is, I believe, the greatest game and definitely the greatest postseason performance of his career.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating what, Jason Tatum really does need to step it up. I mean, you put it well. I mean, he's right now not playing good enough. What's he? I just pulled up the stats. I mean, he's shooting right now 33% in this series. I mean, that's just, for a superstar player, it's unacceptable. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean,
right, and that's the issue. If you're gonna talk about this guy in the conversation with Jimmy Butler and KD, he's got to show it to you.
No, I'll be honest. I mean, I think Jimmy Butler, after what I saw in these playoffs, is probably a better player than Jason Tatum right now.
The thing about Jimmy is that he's so consistent in the playoffs. Every year he turns it up. He really does.
I think Jimmy
really
Butler
does cruise in the regular season too.
I just but the playoffs are what matter. Like
I agree.
You can see there's all these guys in the league that just in the regular season you can do whatever you want, but in the playoffs, I mean, we're seeing it with just all these guys. I mean, it's just a whole nother level. I do want to talk about Draymond Green. You mentioned. I mean, I think offensively, Draymond Green has kind of been washed, you could say, for a few years now. I mean, he really has not been contributing offensively. He's can't shoot the ball. He really at this point is he's a bit of a playmaker a little bit, but he's the defensive aggressive guy that he matches Boston's intensity, which I think Golden State definitely needs in the series, because Boston defensively is a very tough team. We've seen that, and a lot of these guys like Jordan Poole, he's struggled at moments in this series. Like a lot of these Golden State guys, Clay, they've struggled offensively. Steph's kind of the one real true outlier who just seems unaffected, just because of how good he is. But Boston's a tough team, and Draymond is given, he gives it right back to the Celtics, which is what they need, because the Celtics, I mean, you got the defensive player of the year and Marcus Smart, obviously Robert Williams is out there. They've got all these guys that are tough defensively. And Al Horford is just their weird catalyst kind of player that just is just that guy. And I mean, if Jason Tatum can't step up, Al Horford's one of those guys that, they'll look to, and just it's seemed this year that he has been the guy to step up when they need it the most, as crazy as that is. So who knows? I mean, I think that Golden State, and the one thing that's very interesting for me is I think this whole Game 6 Clay thing, it's crazy, obviously, but like I think at this point the narrative and the hype is even like I think Klay Thompson. I'm not suggesting anything.
Yeah, you'll see people using it as a real piece of analysis, and it's just not
Yeah, but it's it's very odd. I mean, it's crazy, and I think he definitely steps it up, but just one of those weird things. And Klay Thompson, I mean, I've said it before on this podcast. He's obviously not the guy he once was. He's not an all-star caliber player anymore. It's unfortunate, but that's the truth. I mean, he's just not at that level anymore. But he is another player where if he can get it going, even for one quarter, I mean, it changes a game completely.
Jordan Poole, we haven't even talked about Jordan Poole.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of brought him up. He's been kind of not amazing.
Been bad too. No, they've all been bad. And that bench, people talked a lot about that Golden State bench. We talked a lot about it. We talked about the depth, but
it's not showing up.
Bielitsa, I mean, this guy is he's been getting minutes for them too. I don't
get it. He's just not good. He's probably one of the worst players on that roster. I mean,
he's probably the worst player in this series that's getting minutes, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't really get why he's playing.
Yeah. I mean, because I think Draymond has just struggled a lot in the series. And I think I understand he's been an aggressor. And I think to me, actually, I don't think his defense has been that awesome. I just think
it's just been aggressive. I think
for
he's just shoving people
for
around.
Draymond's standards, I just don't think he's been good. He said it. I mean, you saw what his mom tweeted on Twitter or tweeted out the other day about him not being enough. But I mean, like you said, it's just crazy. This series really should not be tied, because Steph is this is a carry job to end all carry jobs, besides the LeBron ones, obviously, in Cleveland. Those are some.
It's crazy though, because this Warriors team we were talking about is just so deep. I mean, it's crazy that
they've all disappeared. They've all disappeared.
Crazy. I know it's insane, but I mean, Steph Curry. I mean, look, I've criticized him myself for his play, his suspect play sometimes in the games that matters, and at the end of the day, he's been amazing. He's looked incredible. We'll see in these next few games what happens. I mean, Steph Curry he has a history of, in the brightest of the brightest moments, not showing up, not for a whole game per se, but in the last, 5 minutes, 2016 Game 7, he disappeared in the last few minutes of the game. And,
yeah, I agree. I think he
no question, Steph Curry is incredible, playing at a level above everyone else in this series. I'm just curious to see what happens, because, the infamous sure. Max Kellerman take of the whole "I want Iguodala." I mean, it stems from people forget that it stems from the fact that Steph Curry, there's been moments in recent finals where he has not been there and has not been able to make the big shot and he hasn't. It's a true fact. He really hasn't hit the one a big huge shot per se in one of these final series.
Yeah, I mean, I would say.
And do I think it's going to happen the way he's playing? Probably not, but he's been amazing before. It's not. I'm not saying he's a choke or anything. I mean, I'm very curious. I'm very curious.
I'm starting some classic Cleveland Steph hater right here.
I don't think it's even a bias. It's just I am genuinely curious if he does have that moment, what's going to happen, because that's been the one knock on Steph Curry, I feel, is that in the brightest moments,
we all know that
the greatest shooter of all time hasn't been able to hit the shot. Ray Allen,
the fact the fact that he doesn't have a Finals MVP is just like I feel like it twists the narrative so much because listen, bro, like
Well, I'm not even honing in on that per
no,
se.
but I think just like not specifically you, but generally, I think like he gets slated a lot for not having a Finals MVP. But the truth is, like we all know, LeBron probably should have won Finals MVP in the 2015 Finals despite the loss. However, if they were going to give it to a Warriors player, Steph averaged 25 and 7 in that series. Like, come on, he was great in that series. I don't get that, but I do tend. I guess I know what you're saying is he doesn't have that iconic moment, but I think if they win this series at all, for what he's done, keeping them in even the first 4 games of the series,
Obviously, he's the final.
his legacy is cemented
Yeah.
forever at this point. Like,
Well, his legacy's always cemented. I
Yeah.
think, in my opinion, he's a top 10 player of all time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
look, you
No
can
doubt.
get into the whole Magic versus him debate. I honestly would. I'm not going to say anything on it because I honestly don't know enough about like the whole. I haven't
Yeah, I mean,
researched the whole
the
Magic
thing is, like,
Johnson era enough. I don't
I'm
think
so
either of us could make an accurate
no, yeah,
take on
I'm
that.
so
Also,
inclined to say Steph just because that's who I've seen just dominate the league. But like,
yeah,
when you go back and look at it, like in Game 7 of his rookie season in the finals, Magic dropped 42 and 15 and won without Kareem. Kareem was hurt. Like he was that dude. Like you can't even. I don't know. Like how can I say it was better? I never saw Magic.
you can't. Yeah, neither of us can really make a coherent argument on that. But Steph is a legend. He's the greatest shooter of all time, a top 10 player in the game. I'm curious to see if that a close moment in one of these games comes up. If he really,
For sure, for sure.
I think for him it would just probably even be good to just have that one iconic moment in a finals where he can say to himself, look, I want in this moment I won the game single handedly at the end because I don't feel like he
Before
has
though, he
that.
definitely had that. I mean, he won that game for them personally on his back.
But I mean, what they win by 10 points? Like I
Yeah,
want a
but
close
if you
like
watch the end of
clutch.
that game though, it was like a 2-point game with 3 minutes left. And Steph
I don't know.
Boston out of the game.
We'll see. It's only game 4 though. Also, let's see when.
Right, but on the other hand, if Boston wins that game, the series is over.
Probably, yeah. I think it's a clutch moment. We'll see. Maybe I'm hating on Steph Curry. I just want to see
I
him
think
hit.
you're coming off a little salty right now. No, I'm
I
not.
I think I want to see him with the game on the line and see what happens.
No, I do agree. I agree. I agree.
But yeah, Golden State. I mean, I'd still probably pick him. I honestly might. I mean, it honestly looks like the series might go 7. But I don't know, man. I might pick Golden State in 6. That was my
I think
original
that's what I'm
prediction. I
leaning
might stick
towards
with
too.
that.
I think I'm leaning. I would really be distraught by a Boston Celtics finals win.
It's like weird for me too because I've been rooting for the Warriors. Like I want to see the Warriors win, and like I hated the Warriors for so long, but like
Yeah, me too.
just
Me
something
too.
about the Boston Celtics.
I rooted hard for LeBron in all of those series, and
I just think it's something about just like I just don't like the players on the Boston team.
I don't like the
Personally,
players. I don't like the fan base. I don't like the coaching staff. I don't like the organization. I don't like the ownership. I don't like the front office. I don't like the city. I don't like the sports in the city.
I would like to. I mean, I don't even like Al Horford. I guess it would be good tonight. Good
No,
for him to get a ring.
That's public enemy number 1 in Philadelphia, Griffin. No. That would be the worst part about the Celtics. I guess I do like Jaylen Brown, though, to be fair.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown's like not really a big. I mean, he's good. Derek. I mean, it's a fun look. They've accomplished a lot.
Yeah,
props to them. I'm
that's
excited to
Udoka's
watch
first
it.
year coaching. I mean,
yeah. I mean, talk about who wins these stupid awards they have in the NBA with Coach of the Year. I mean, that's the Coach of the Year right there. I mean, who won it this year? Was it
Monty Williams from the Suns? But I mean, it is regular season. It's a regular season award, to be fair, and they won 65.
so stupid? I know, but like,
I mean, postseason. The thing about the Celtics is that they've lost like 12 games since like January.
Monty Williams, man, that's just like, I'm sorry, but
He was
like,
I mean, they voted at the end of the regular season.
yeah,
And
but
you
like,
know,
look
man,
at the
the coach-
team he has, man. Like, and look at they were
Yeah,
coming
but
off. That's why, like,
he
in the
doesn't have. That's not a
in the
great.
NL
That's
or
not
in
a
the
great team.
in the
Well,
MLB, I actually do like how the coaching awards should not be the team like the highest win total team in mind. I think it should be the
yeah, but
manager
I think
who, with what he had, with what the team did the year before, accomplished.
yeah, but
the
he was
most.
also the coach the year before.
He's the 2-time now.
No. Well, he was the coach the year before, but he was the runner-up the year before Monty Williams.
I don't know. I don't feel. Look, Monty Williams is an incredible coach. I'm not doubting that. I just think that look, they're coming off a finals appearance, and you've got Chris Paul, who's Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton, and McCall Bridges, and all these guys. Like, come on. Like, I'm more impressed with what the Boston Celtics have done with what the Memphis Grizzlies did in the regular season, coming from where they
You have to
were.
remember, though, I mean, through 50 games, the Boston Celtics were 25-25.
Yeah, but look, they're in the NBA Finals.
No,
Tied
but that's
2-2
what I'm
right now.
saying. Like, but they would at the end of the regular season.
Well, I'm aware of that, but like, I'm just saying, I know it's a regular season award, and that's how it is. I just think that the job, Boston's coach has done. I, I feel like I'm gonna botch his name if I say it, so I'm gonna hold off on it. But Ime Udoka. But I don't know. We're rambling now. I'm gonna right the ship here before we lose everyone's attention. All right, so we both are gonna say Warriors in 6, I guess. I don't know. It does feel like it's gonna go 7 though, which would be interesting, but we will see. Game 7, Steph, we'll see. In Game 6, so maybe what will happen is Boston wins Game 5. Game 6, Clay shows up to Boston, scores 50 points, and then we have a Game 7. Who knows? But with that, we're going to actually do talk some NFL, which we haven't done in a little bit, I believe. And we're going to talk about something that kind of occurred a little bit ago from this point. But, we've been busy with, there's been a lot of stuff going on, so we haven't been able to talk about that. But the NFL schedule release. So real quick, I'm going to actually share my screen here, and we can go through, and we're just going to look at, each week, kind of preview maybe what we're like and what we're excited to see. And, I'm excited for the NFL season. We're preseason first game, August 4th. I mean, less than, 2 months away now from
definitely not.
NFL. Crazy. I mean, it truly is crazy. This offseason has been crazy. Oh, wow. I saw the Packers Chiefs. I thought that was regular season. I got excited. All right.
Hell of a game.
We'll go through.
Holy Christ.
I mean, what a first game. 2 playoff teams. I mean, we'll give outlooks of all these teams, but like right now between those,
a fraudulent NFL, the Rams are such like an artificial Super Bowl champion. They're like, I don't feel any passion like from the fan base. I don't feel anything.
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
they abandon all their real fans is the problem.
In St. Louis, yeah, it's tough, very tough. Bills Rams though. I mean, both these teams have. I mean, the Bills obviously signed Von Miller. They draft Kyer Lamb. They made some other adjustments to the team. And the Rams, obviously, you trade Robert Woods. Odell right now is not signed. Who knows where Odell's going to end up, but he is a torn ACL as it is. You sign Allen Robinson. You extend basically all your main guys in Stafford, Kupp, Aaron Donald. What are your thoughts on these two teams heading into the regular season? Or,
I mean, I think
where we stand right now.
To be honest, for me, they're both the favorites in each of their conferences. And this is for me the first year where the Bills have been the clear-cut favorite, because in the past it's always been the Chiefs, but it pains me to pick against Pat Mahomes, as you know, but I do think that they're probably the favorites. I think the Rams have got to be the favorites in the NFC again. I mean, the Bucs are obviously right there as well, but the Rams are running it back. And I mean, running back a Super Bowl roster, you're going to be the favorites. End of story. I mean, like you said, they retained all their main guys. I'm not sure what exactly is going on with their cap situation, how they're able to do that. I mean, my guess is
it's truly incredible. The cap is
what they're doing essentially is when Les Snead and Sean McVay are eventually gone, and they will be, within not that long from now, because because towards the end of this decade, the franchise will just be crippled financially. They'll have no draft picks, they'll see the benefit. Like, it's just you'll see. Like, they might get a couple Super Bowls in there, so it'll be worth it. But
it's already worth it, I think, with the one Super Bowl. I mean,
no, yeah, for sure. So it'll be worth it. For sure. It's already worth it. But I think towards the end of the decade, you'll see Snead and McVay gone, and probably a franchise significantly hindered.
Yeah. I mean, I agree about the Bills. I think the Chiefs, man, I mean, it's frustrating because I think they had a good offseason. Like, they did what they could with having trade Tyreek. I mean, they had a good draft. I agree.
The
Karlaftis pick.
Draft,
Who was they drafted a cornerback 2 round 1, right?
Sorry.
Who was they drafted Karlaftis round 1, and then who was their other kid? They drafted McDuffie too.
Yeah, Trent McDuffie from Washington.
So I
They
mean,
traded up.
very good. They obviously went out, got Sky Moore too. They signed Juju. But the one thing I said going into the offseason I want to see was an upgraded receiving core. And to me, that was what they needed to do to because that's what I think really hindered them. And it got worse. I mean, their receiving core right now is what? Juju,
Marquez
is me.
Scantling. Byron Pringle. No, Byron Pringle.
No.
Else, I think.
Is McCole Hardman still there?
I don't believe so.
He's gone, really.
Is he gone? No, maybe.
I don't think he's got to have like one more year, I think. Yeah, Kansas City, but they lost to Marcus Robinson too. So dude, their receiving core definitely got.
Yeah, but DeMarcus Robinson was dog shit. Like, with all due respect to DeMarcus Robinson, he couldn't catch anything.
Yeah,
but were down bad, and before we had AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, everybody was like, "Get DeMarcus Robinson to Philly," because we needed some speed. And
no, I'm not saying he's anything good. Just was going through their overture, but yeah, I agree. I think Buffalo right now is a team to beat in the AFC, but the AFC is a gauntlet, like we've said. Who knows who's going to come out of that? It's really going to come down to, I think, who is the healthiest in the playoffs. Honestly, like, any of these teams can win. You've got the Bills, you've got the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Raiders. I truly believe are going to be good. The Broncos are poised to be good. The Ravens are going to be better. The Colts are probably going to be good. The Browns, God knows what's going to happen with the Cleveland Browns.
God knows.
God only knows what's going to happen. Who knows? It is the NFL though, so you got to remember how corrupt this league is. I'm not even saying Deshaun Watson could legitimately probably get suspended for 8 games, and then that's it, and he just plays out the rest of his NFL career.
It's just it's a little insane to think about, for sure.
I honestly wouldn't even be surprised though if that's
neither would I.
It's honestly might be likely at this point. But yeah. So going through, I mean, to be honest, the rest of the schedule, Bucks, Cowboys. I think the Cowboys. We'll talk about them real quick. I mean, wow, they have Russ homecoming week 1. That's awesome.
Wow, they did that on purpose, 100%.
Yeah, Monday night too. Dallas. I mean, this is a team that obviously it's coming off a division title. They obviously have their 2 young guys, Trayvon Diggs, Micah Parsons, who were all pros. But they got worse. They lost, Randy Gregory to Denver. They lost, pieces of that O-line. Lyle Collins is gone. They lost, obviously, traded Amari Cooper. I mean, this team really is it's not the same, and they weren't able to win a playoff game last year. I just don't see how this team got any better and is going to be able to win a playoff game this year. I still think they're probably division favorites, but like we said, I mean, we've looked at their schedule and it's much harder than the Eagles. I mean, I think the Eagles, it comes down to quarterback play. Can Jalen Hurts win them enough games? If he can, I think the division's theirs for the taking. But what are your thoughts on? I know it's going to be biased, but what are your thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys right now?
No, I mean, it is going to be full of bias, but I think I'll try to remove as much of it as I can. Like, the Cowboys are still a really good football team, and they just have Micah Parsons. Trayvon Diggs is a very good corner. I think, I don't know if I could even call him overrated. I think at this point, Trayvon Diggs is probably properly rated, to be honest. Well, maybe not, because he made first team all pro, but whatever. Which is kind of crazy, but whatever.
He's good at what he does.
He's good at what he does. But Micah Parsons is going to be the best defensive player in the league one day. When Aaron Donald is gone, truly, him and TJ Watt are going to be just the guys. Like, this dude is an absolute world beater. But look, I mean, I think you talked about quarterback play from Jalen Hurts, and I agree. Obviously, it's, the foundation of this Eagles team and how far they can go and what their ceiling is. But, Dak Prescott after week 5 really wasn't great last year. It really wasn't used to what we were seeing from Dak Prescott. And I think that sort of, he really wasn't great until the end in a lot of those in that playoff game. And I think this is sort of a trend with the Cowboys where you see where, they really are a great second half team, but sort of bury themselves in the first half. And they did it a lot last year. And I think, if you run through their schedule real quick, like they're not going to be able to afford to do that. I mean, they have the Buccaneers week 1 for the second year in a row. That's sort of a precursor to how difficult their schedule is going to be. But like you said, they're going to be going from playing a third place schedule, I believe, to, or what was it? A fourth or a third
They
place
definitely
schedule.
play conference four. Yeah.
I think a third place schedule, to a first place schedule. And, the Eagles still have that second place schedule. And look, here's the thing, right, about the Eagles. It's just their schedule is so easy. All they have to do is just like, if Jalen Hurts, the thing about Hurts is like, if he is equally as good as he was last year, like they'll win 10 games. And they'll make the playoffs, probably lose the first game, and he'll get booted out. So I think like that's the thing you have to ask yourself. Like, can the Cowboys get to 10 wins? Like, because I really think that like Hurts will probably improve, but even if he doesn't, like their schedule is easy enough and their roster has been built well enough to the point where they really should be able to win 10 games this year. And I think the Cowboys, it really a lot of this goes back to how are the other guys on that defense besides Micah Parsons? How good can DeMarcus Lawrence be next year? Because I think at one point, you were talking about this guy as a top. I mean, sorry, not you specifically, but generally, you were talking about this guy, as a top 3, top 5 edge rusher in the league at one, 2-3 years ago. If he can get back to form, it's going to be a very sad day for me as an Eagles fan. But look, I think, like, I think, like you said, we've talked about it before. I didn't love that Amari trade for them. I thought a 5th round pick. I understand they were probably going to have to cut him anyway, but that 5th round pick,
Especially after they traded him, and then the wide receiver market just like,
yeah,
people were like saying Cleveland shouldn't have taken that contract, and then you see what happened, and everyone's like praising Cleveland. It's pretty funny.
yeah, no, I think it's just it's the emergence of CeeDee Lamb is obviously one of the main story. I mean, he's obviously already an excellent receiver, an excellent player, but can he become that in that top tier of receivers in the league? I think he probably can, to be honest. I think he is a really good receiver. Is he, Justin Jefferson level? Probably not, but I think he's still a great player. But I think this really just depends on how well Dak can play. And I think he's going to have to get used to some new offensive linemen this year. Obviously, you still have Tyron Smith solidifying that left side, which is huge. But look, I think it really, really comes back to Dak for these Dallas Cowboys. And I was just disappointed by his play the last 10 to 13 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I think Dallas is fascinating. I think that they definitely got worse. I don't think that this team can win the Super Bowl by any means. Can they win this division, though? Probably. And would I say they're my favorites? I guess I would have to say so, but it's really tough. Their receiver core. After CeeDee Lamb, who do they have? Is it, Michael Gallup, I guess, who's a solid guy.
He's a really good player, to be fair to Michael Gallup, but he's coming off a serious injury. He's coming off a serious
and he's
injury.
one of those guys that, he's had those great moments, but like in an elevated role when more is expected of him, we don't know what he's going to do. Because, when you're a third string wide receiver, you can, have these big games and all of a sudden be praised. But like when the pressure's on you, like CeeDee Lamb, like he had his big moments last year, but like it still wasn't an incredible season. Like he's gonna have to step it up as the one. Obviously, you've got Dalton Schultz, but there's a lot of controversy there. He wants to be paid, and obviously that David Njoku contract. Really, these franchise tag tight ends now are, man, they must be like worshiping the ground that David Njoku walks on, because that man is setting those guys up to get paid, especially like a guy like a Mike Gesicki. Like he's gonna get a pretty penny, but we'll see what happens with Dallas. Like you said, their edge rushing is one of their keys. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Cleveland Browns defense, not to jump to them and keep talking about the Browns, but when Myles Garrett Clowney, like that is just the core of that defense and just allows them to, having such pressure on the QB is just so valuable, because it obviously forces the QB to make mistakes and have to rush, but like it just gives your defense a chance. And especially for a guy like Trayvon Diggs, when you put the pressure on a quarterback, there's a better chance of a missed thrown ball or bad ball placement, underthrown, and that's when a guy like Trayvon Diggs can excel. And that's why part of the reason why he's done so well is because Dallas has been getting to the quarterback. So we'll see what happens. But the division, though, it's a real two-horse race. Maybe Washington could entertain it for a few weeks, but I don't think they're serious contenders.
Washington. I think New York is maybe even bet like
No.
Brian.
The
No,
New York Football Giants are going to win maybe 4 football games this season.
yeah, but those Washington Commanders are terrible, dude.
I think they're better than people give them credit for. I think they're not good, but they're not. I think they're like a 7 or an 8 win team, if I'm being honest.
All right. Yeah. All right. That's fair.
I think the New York Football Giants are like a 4 to 5 win team, maybe 6. Maybe, but yeah. Week 2, we're moving a little slow, so we're going to speed this up. But Chargers Chiefs, I mean, let's just talk about the AFC West. Obviously, I am so excited to see the AFC West play football this season. I mean, this is just, it's got to be one of the most exciting divisions in recent memory. Every one of these 4 teams is a star quarterback. I mean, you say what you want about Derek Carr, but he's been good recently. And I mean, he arguably has I guess you could argue with the Chargers, but Derek Carr has the best weapons in the entire AFC West with Devontae, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, and Josh Jacobs. I mean, I'll be honest. I really think that the Las Vegas Raiders are being overlooked in this division. I think they legitimately have a chance to win it, and I know it's all going to come down.
Like
I'm worried about the coaching. I'm worried
about the coaching Derek Carr. I actually believe in Derek Carr more than most people. But do you think he's good enough to compete in this division with these guys?
I think if you look at the talent he has on the field compared to what he made the playoffs with last year, I mean, you get Devontae Adams in there. I mean, I'm not like there's not a
game changer, man. He really is. I mean,
there's not a deep. You look at what
Hunter Renfrow is going to do some dangerous.
He got the bag this year too. I mean, he got the 2-year extension for $32 million, I believe.
Yeah,
it was.
I believe that's right.
But no, I mean, I know there was comparison from Devontae about Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr, and I'm not agreeing with that whatsoever. I think Aaron Rodgers is clearly another level above Derek Carr. But you look at what Green Bay was able to do with, their weapons, and obviously you had Aaron Jones, but they had Devontae, and then the MBS's Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb of the world. Derek Carr is, he's got Devontae, and then he's got a very good wide receiver 2 in Hunter Renfrow, a solid running back in Josh Jacobs, an elite tight end in Darren Waller. I mean, this offense is going to do good things, and people forget this defense. I mean, they've played well at times, but that pass rush, Max Crosby, Chandler Jones, like that's a very, very legit pass rush. So I'm very excited to see the Raiders.
That secondary is very, very suspect.
That is that's the big problem.
I think the other question is Josh McDaniels.
That's what I'm saying. I'm a little worried about the coaching. We have to see, obviously, and then I mean, you look around this division. I'll be honest. I've said this. I think Denver's the worst team in this division, if I'm being honest. I'm not sold on Denver. I don't know what it is. I'm just not sold on it.
Yeah,
Chargers. I think the Chargers are another team that they just never haven't been able to make the playoffs. But like on paper. And this team, I mean, they added J.C. Jackson, Sebastian Joseph Day, Khalil Mack. They go ahead and draft. Was it Trevor Penning they drafted? No, was it? Or did they draft a guard?
They definitely drafted.
I think they drafted a guard.
No, Zion Johnson.
It was. Right? We always mess this up. It was.
We
Zion
always
Johnson.
mess this up. We always
Zion
did.
Johnson.
It was Zion Johnson. I know. All right, I got him the second guess at least.
Yeah. And they're bound to be good. And then the Chiefs that we kind of touched on, but they're it's Pat Mahomes and you still got Travis Kelce. Their O-line's good. I'm a little worried about Kansas City, though. I think Tyreek Hill is a true game changer. We're going to have to see what they do with these new wide receivers.
Listen,
I do believe they can make it work, and they probably will make it work. I'm just very curious to see how the offense looks without Tyreek Hill and with guys like Juju, MVS, and Sky Moore in there.
To me, though, I hate to say it, though, I think as long as they have Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid, you got to have them as the favorite in this division.
I think Travis Kelce is on that level of importance, too. I think without Travis, I think that Travis Kelce is much more important than Tyreek Hill was. And I think that's why they were willing to trade Tyreek Hill. I think Travis Kelce is.
Although they offered him a ton of money, to be fair.
Well, obviously you want Tyreek Hill. I'm not saying they were willingly getting rid of Tyreek Hill, but they had to at the end of the day. And they got a lot of picks for him, and they had a good draft. So I don't. I think you got to put the Chiefs as the favorites, but I mean, all these teams, and we haven't even talked about Denver. I mean, Denver might have had the best offseason trading for Russell Wilson, and they signed Randy Gregory.
I mean, you're not big on him though.
I'm not big on him. I have to see. I'm just a little stuck. I haven't seen enough from them, and I do believe that their defense is not as good as people are making it seem to be. I think people are making it seem like this is like the 2015, 16, whatever year it was, Super Bowl Broncos defense, and I don't think it's even close to that. Bradley Chubb is an incredible player. Pat Surtain's amazing. Justin Simmons is one of the best safeties in the NFL. Outside of that, though, they've got some great players, but I just want to see a little bit more from them. And will they be good? Most likely. Will I be wrong? Probably. And also from their receivers, I know it's not even their fault with their quarterbacks and Vic Fangio there, but Jerry Jeudy, as great as a player as he was in college and potentially still is, I need to see it from him before I can say this offense has elite weapons. Obviously, Cortland Sutton's really the only guy for me where I've seen it and I've been like, all right, Cortland Sutton, he's proven that he's a pretty solid receiver. But even is Cortland Sutton a true number one? No, he's not a true number one receiver in the NFL, in my opinion.
Where would you have Cortland Sutton in your wide receiver rankings? I mean, we were obviously Billy Brown or AJ Brown, a couple months ago. So I mean, where would you have?
I think Cortland Sutton's in the wide receiver 2 range, but and it's not even the guy's fault at this point. They've had such bad quarterbacks and coaching.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't know what.
I mean, his quarterback play, dude. I mean, doing anything with that level of quarterback play.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Russell Wilson may go out there in game 1 against Seattle, and Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy could each have 100 yards. Jerry Jeudy was running I had this guy in fantasy, and this was the dude was running slants for the entire game. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Jerry Jeudy, he just wasn't even allowed to be himself. So that's why I'm excited to see what this team does under Nathaniel Hackett and with Russell Wilson. I'm very excited to see. And if Jerry Jeudy truly isn't, doesn't do much this year, guy just isn't that good. And it's very interesting because this will finally give us a true outlook on these guys and their talent, and it's going to be awesome to see. I'm very excited. This division it'll be one. There's not going to be it's going to be might come down to week 18. I don't know what we have down there, but I mean we're rambling on. We're talking so much about all these teams, but I mean I think we're just excited for the NFL season to start at this point. I mean, man, oh man. Let's talk about the Miami Dolphins. We'll talk about a few more teams, but
frauds.
You hear? I mean, according to Tyreek Hill, Tua Tagovailoa is more accurate than Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, you got to take it. You got to take his word. I guess we just got to take his word for it, man. This is a team that I don't think is going to be very good, to be quite honest with you, or at least
if you put
as good as people are hyping.
I think it's all about the quarterback, though. Would you agree? I think
I think it's absolutely all about the quarterback. I believe in Tua Tagovailoa less than I believe in, say, Jalen Hurts, and I don't even really believe in Jalen Hurts at all. You just heard me I wasn't too confident in Jalen Hurts. I think this dude just doesn't have it, in my opinion. This is a team that went 1-7 against the real teams they faced. They went on a Mickey Mouse. Look at this. Look at this, Griffin. I'm going to read to you the teams that they played on their Mickey Mouse winning streak, okay?
They lost to the Jaguars in London, right?
Yes, they did. They lost. This is a team. Ready? This is their.
They must have the Jets twice in there.
This is their Mickey Mouse 7-game win streak. After they went 1-7, by the way.
They beat the Ravens and the hurt Ravens, and they beat
the hurt. Okay, here we go. Here we go. The Texans, the hurt Ravens, the Jets, the Panthers, the Giants, the Jets, the Saints with Taysom Hill at quarterback. They got mauled by the Titans, and they beat the Saints who lost by 30 points to the Bills.
They beat the Saints with Ian Book at quarterback.
Ian Book. Sorry, not Taysom Hill. Ian Book.
I will never forget that game for the rest of my life because I lost a fantasy championship because their defense scored 25 points on me.
Wow. Oh my word. I do remember that game. Ian Book threw 3 picks.
I'll never forget it. I don't even want to talk about it. But look, I think Miami got a lot better this offseason, obviously with adding Tyreek Hill. I think their O-line is still a huge issue. I think
I just don't believe in the quarterback at all.
I also don't believe in Tua, and I've been saying it for years. I
Yeah.
actually remember distinctly his rookie season. I think it was after a game against the Raiders that I kind of called him out, and I really, since then have not believed in Tua, and I've thought he's, a bust, and I've stuck by that take since then. I got called out for it by Mac, the kid I used to do the podcast with before, Mr. Rob over here. And I got called out for it, but I've stuck with it. And I don't believe Tua is anywhere near the level that Miami needs to seriously compete for a Super Bowl. I think that this team is still missing a bunch of pieces, though. Their running back, approach. They've got, they signed Chase Edmonds. He's fine, but he's not that good. Their O-line isn't good enough. Their quarterback's not good enough. I do like their defense, and I think their defense really played well. But at the end of the day, you also got rid of Brian Flores. So defensively, there's going to be some changes. I do like the hiring of Mike McDaniel as the head coach. I think their offense, and that's what I think is interesting about their offense. I think Mike McDaniel is going to be able to do some really fun and interesting things with this team, especially with guys like Tyreek and Waddle. When we saw what he was able to do with Deebo Samuel, and I really do believe that this guy, Mike McDaniel, could very well be the next, Kyle Shanahan type head coach, where he's very, in tune and does all these things. But does all these things, I sound like a total casual, but I just can't. He's just one of those smart thinking,
we know what you mean.
advanced minds in the game. That's using all this new,
innovative offensive mind.
Yes, innovative offensive mind. But I and look what you can say Tua is bad, but look what the 40, and I don't think this Dolphins defense is quite what the 49ers is, but the Dolphins do have a solid group at cornerback. They've got some solid players. They've got, guys who have emerged, and look what Mike McDaniel did with Jimmy G at quarterback. As much as you slander him, that team made the conference championship. So do I think the Dolphins will make the conference championship? No. Do I think they'll make the playoffs? Potentially. I think it's a real tough team to predict what will happen. And this is another team that it solely relies on the quarterback play of Tua. If Tua steps it up this year, this team will be in the playoffs. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he's got no more excuses.
No, I mean, this is probably a make or break season for Tua, especially with the quarterback class. And I think that's for teams who have a quarterback that, they're unsure of. With the quarterback class this year, it's probably make or break. So we've talked about it, but Daniel Jones obviously is make or break. Jalen Hurts, Tua, whoever starts in Carolina is make or break. You could even argue guys like Carson Wentz are make it break it guys. Jared Goff, I mean, he's already done it. He's on his way out.
Carson Wentz will be replaced by Sam Howell by week 6 if he's terrible.
Very well could be. It's very interesting. Drew Lock is another guy that, who he probably doesn't have it, but he's another guy who, Davis Mills even. I mean, there's so many guys who they don't play well enough are gone for sure.
A lot of make it breaking years.
Bengals. I mean, I don't want to keep talking too much about it. We're on week 2, so I mean, we've kind of failed at this point. So let's real quick. I mean, just go through.
We've done a little preview though, instead of maybe a week by week type.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I thought it was going to end up being. I mean, Ravens Pats, that should be a fun game. Chiefs Colts. I mean, let's talk about the Colts real quick in the AFC South. I believe the Colts will win that division. I mean, I think the Texans are definitely still rebuilding, obviously. And then you've got Jacksonville Jaguars, who are most likely going to be very bad once again. Chiefs, Titans, I don't believe much in the Titans. I mean, I think that's going to be a case where Derrick Henry's going to have to carry that team. I don't think Ryan Tannehill's very good. You lose A.J. Brown. You don't have Julio Jones. All of a sudden, that wide receiver room is, Robert Woods, I guess, and Treylon Burks. But what are your thoughts in the AFC South? I mean, I think the Colts should finally have a clear path to a easy division title this year.
Yeah, I think I've talked about it before, but Matt Ryan is significantly better than Carson Wentz. I think this is a team that really, I mean, you mentioned it sort of when mentioning the contenders. This is a team that's going to contend this year, I think they're finally sick of, like you said, I think they're going to be able to beat up on their division finally without the Titans up their butt the whole time. They're going to have four free wins this year, essentially. Like they've had every year. I mean, I just think Matt Ryan is a lot better than people give him credit for. That might be a little bit biased because he's from Philly, all this, that. But, I think this is a guy who really has a lot left in the tank, and a guy who can really, I think he's better than Phillip Rivers was. Although Phillip Rivers was pretty good for the Colts, to be fair to him, I think he's
Philip
significantly.
Rivers is solid, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was significantly. I mean, but look, to be fair to Phillip Rivers, dude, they lost by 3 in the wild card game to a team that got to the AFC Championship that year, in Buffalo. So
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think the Colts
Philip
really.
Rivers was so sorry. Philip Rivers though was so washed that year. Like
He was.
talent
He was. He
was
was. But
he was able to push through.
no, yeah, and I think they really just they had a playoff spot secured.
And then
Like,
they
when they beat the Patriots, how did they lose a playoff spot after that?
to Jacksonville. Didn't they? Well, they lost 2 in a row, correct?
Yeah, no,
That
Carson
year.
Wentz disaster. Carson Wentz disaster class. I mean, that's what it was. And I think this is a team that really, might have as good a shot as anybody at winning this AFC. I mean, that's got to be their goal this year. That Matt
Yeah.
Ryan has 1, maybe 2 years left with them. Their goal has to be to get to the Super Bowl this year.
And I think that you go ahead.
I think that their receiver room is a little weak, but I think what they need is a huge Michael Pittman Jr. breakout. They're relying on it essentially. I mean, he's been a great guy, but like you said, maybe more in that, the bottom half of that Cortland Sutton wide receiver 2 tier. But this is a guy who needs to, and I think I honestly think he's capable of it. I think this is a guy who's capable of becoming an elite wide receiver. I think he has all the tools. I think he's a huge guy. And I think very few can go up and jump and catch the ball with him. And I think this is a guy I think has a shot to make a huge leap with Matt Ryan as his quarterback next year. And if he does, watch out for those Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would love if the Colts could just have one more like guy at wide receiver that was like a legit guy, and that's what this team is missing. And it's unfortunate because the way the trade market is this year with wide, and they have the cap space for like a legit like 20+ million receiver to put in there. But the way the receiver market, free agency wise, I mean, it was just not really the level of talent. I mean, unless they want to give Christian Kirk, which I'm happy for them that they didn't go ahead and give him that monstrosity of a contract. But I mean, this Colts team, man, I mean, Jonathan Taylor, I mean, this guy single-handedly led them to the position where they were going to make the playoffs. I mean, and it's sickening that they should have just given Jonathan Taylor the ball every single time. And even if it wasn't working, I mean, they try to get cute. And this was one of those.
Just get Carson Wentz out of here. Get Carson Wentz off the field.
And I think that is going to make a difference. I think Matt Ryan is definitely levels above Carson Wentz. And Matt Ryan, I just wish he had more weapons because I think that the Colts, I mean, Michael, like you said, Michael Pittman Jr., they're kind of relying on that breakout. They still need one more guy, though. And, Jonathan Taylor, though, and Nyheim Hines, they have a great group at running back. I think they signed Philip Lindsay, too, and they've got maybe another guy.
And that offensive line is just the opposite.
Ridiculous.
The opposite of what Matt Ryan has had the last couple of years in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly amazing. And Frank Reich does an incredible job there. And they worked with what they've had at wide receiver with some of their trash QBs they've had recently. So I expect them to still be very good. And that defense, I think, there's been a little bit of Kenny Moore drama. It seems like he wants to get paid, which I understand who wouldn't want to get paid. But Darius Leonard, man, I mean, this guy is outside of Aaron Donald and TJ Watt, he's the claim as the next best guy defensively. I think him and like Myles Garrett and Jalen Ramsey
gotta be there.
and Micah Parsons, like those are probably the next 4 guys. But Darius Leonard is right in that discussion. He is, dude. The amount of fumbles this guy forces is like I've never seen anything like it. Freaking insane. And obviously you've got DeForest Buckner and a few other guys there. Like this Colts defense is legit too, and we'll see, man. I'm excited to watch the Colts this year, though. They're one of the teams that, I mean, I had JT in fantasy, so I really love them because of that. But like, they're one of the teams that I really do want to see succeed. Like, it's just a good team and just I don't know. It's just one of those teams that I just want to see
long-suffering for sure. Long-suffering fan base for sure.
Especially after all that Andrew Luck just retiring suddenly.
Yeah, because they really should have been up there competing with the Giants of the AFC after Tom's departure, and like Andrew Luck would be at the peak of his game right now, dude. God damn.
And they
God damn,
wouldn't
that
have.
man was a great
Imagine
quarterback.
Andrew Luck with like Jonathan Taylor and that
That
offense.
guys, how about this? Dude, imagine Andrew Luck with a competent offensive line, dude. They would just, God, that man was a good quarterback, dude. Oh my Lord.
All right. Is there anything else I mean, real quick, Green Bay, I think is a good place. I mean, the schedule thing has kind of become a mess, but it's fine. We're just previewing the NFL at this point. Green Bay, I mean, I think they're one of the more fascinating teams right now. And obviously you can see on the schedule they play at Tampa Bay week 3 and then New England week 4. So an interesting stretch at the beginning of the year. Obviously trading Devontae Adams. They lose some other guys. They lose Darius Smith. This is huge change in Green Bay. They've been able to keep the gang together, but this is the first year where we're going to see, they did keep Rodgers, obviously, which is their main goal, but they lost other few key guys. I mean, what are your expectations for this Green Bay team? I think personally, it's going to be fascinating. I think Rodgers is good enough to make these guys, some of these mediocre guys work, but like one of these guys is going to have to break out and become kind of a star because you're just not going to see a championship level team without a elite weapon. I mean, he really doesn't have an elite weapon outside of the running back room to throw the ball to. It's kind of crazy.
No, he doesn't. I mean, I still have, I think this Packers team should still probably be able to win the NFC North with ease. They have 4 free wins a year.
Yeah, I mean, the only team competing with them would be Minnesota, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't think Minnesota is very good, to be honest with you. I mean, they did add Darius Smith, but he can't stay healthy, obviously. What has he played 6 games in 2 years?
New coaching, though, in Minnesota. Mike Zimmer is out, so we will see.
He is out. He is out, and a new general manager as well. But I do believe that the Packers are still by far and away the best team in their division. I think, obviously. I understand Devontae Adams, To me, though, especially in that playoff game, I mean, we talked about it at the time. It almost looked like Aaron Rodgers got tunnel vision to Devontae Adams. I mean, do you remember that? He wouldn't stop throwing. Devontae Adams, I mean, he did have like 9 for 120 and a touchdown or something like that, but he was targeted like 23, 24 times. And at the end of the game, Aaron Rodgers threw him the ball like 8 straight times and only completed 2 of them. I mean, it was unbelievable. I don't know if you remember this, but Aaron Rodgers just did not trust these guys last year. And I mean, obviously MVS is gone. Doesn't sound like they had the best relationship after, some of the things you've been hearing. I mean, like, because MVS was out of there rather quickly, but I kind of think, look, Aaron Rodgers just did not trust these guys last year. And like you said, like, completely different dynamic. I get it. Him and Matt LaFleur, obviously, they work extremely well together. 2-time MVP since he's been there, but I just don't, like you said, I just don't know. He'll make it work, but to beat these top dogs, he's going to have trust in this really mediocre. I mean, they added Sammy Watkins, if I remember correctly, right? I mean, I'm not really sure how that's going to work.
Sammy Watkins, no offense to Sammy Watkins, but like, that's the definition of mediocre, right there.
Well, Sammy Watkins just gets like tossed around by all the elite teams in the league. Does he not? Like, he just gets tossed
Baltimore,
around.
Kansas City, yeah.
Yeah, like, but I like.
He had a big game in that Super Bowl win against San Francisco, though.
No, he did. He did. I believe he had over. Did he have over 100 receiving yards in that game?
He might have. Yeah, he really played well. But I mean, we're a few years removed from that game now, obviously.
Yeah, so. I mean, sorry, we're rambling a little. Listen, Sammy Watkins, a very interesting player. But look, I mean, I just this Packers team will probably clean up the NFC North rather easily, like they usually do. But I just don't see them on the level of the Bucs or the Rams, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think that without Devontae, without some of these guys, we just got to see. I mean, I just don't think that they're on that level either. They haven't been able to find that success with Devontae. Without Devontae, I just don't see that happening as well. So, yeah. All right. Well, with that will do it, I think, for this week's episode of Outside the Arena. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for more content. We'll try and maybe put out something in the middle of the week or so regarding the finals. But we'll see. We'll do our best to put out more and more content. Hopefully some new interviews coming soon. We're working behind the scenes on that. And, maybe some new content on different platforms. Hopefully we're trying to get TikTok potentially getting going on there. But if, like I said in the beginning, if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe on the video. Check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify at Outside the Arena. And follow us on Instagram at Outside the Arena Podcast. Our Instagrams will be linked in the description below as well. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. See you all next week on Outside the Arena.